Hello and welcome to Soul's Compass Healing. My name is Brianne. I sincerely welcome you to this space. I am hoping that you subscribe, like, comment, and if you're interested in learning Jeffrey Wolf Green's Evolutionary Astrology, which is what I am attempting to convey in every new moon and full moon report here, I highly recommend that you check out Timothy Halloran's Astro School. I'm going to link it in the description of this video. It is the most in-depth astrology out there because it is natural law, period. And so if you want to know why your life is the way that it is, who you are, I highly recommend it. It's a go at your own pace, monthly membership setup. And it takes Jeffrey Wolf Green's evolutionary astrology teachings and Timothy has put it in a very approachable and digestible format for us to learn and change our own lives. And I, coming from a social work background, learning many different models and frameworks of practice around the human psyche and societal ills that we are facing, I've never come across something so accurate and profoundly detailed at explaining the why behind everything. And this is a Scorpio full moon. We want to know why things are happening the way that they are right now. And so I will get into explaining that. One more announcement: I'm going to be providing and facilitating evolutionary astrology study groups to the students of the Astro School. So if you're signed up in the school, you're more than welcome to join. My framework for this is that it is going to be interactive and integrative. So it's going to be an opportunity where we are studying evolutionary astrology and we're actually putting it to practice by doing self-readings and readings for and with one another. So we're actually bringing evolutionary astrology to life where we can directly see the science of observation and correlation to the symbols in the birth chart and the transits. I'm really passionate about this because I am a social worker and I'm all about people getting together and learning in that way. So I'm super excited to be offering this. I am hosting a meet and greet if you want to ask any questions on May 11th. The first study group kicks off on May 18th. I will put the link to my website in the description of this video where you can find out more detailed information and sign up if you are wanting to be a part of this. Okay. Today Chiron is with Mercury. It's going to be exact tomorrow. So what I have to say here, I'm not going to be sharing my personal story, but it's informed by my personal story of the wounding that I have been through in my life. This Scorpio full moon happening on May the 12th is going to be with Juno. It's going to be significant to clock that this is with Juno because Juno is at the apex of a yod with Jupiter and Chiron. It's also very important to note that Jupiter is squaring the moon's nodes right now. This will be exact on May 18th. And so what I want to start with is this. Juno is the relationship asteroid. So it's all about our relationships, whether they be intimate or platonic, any type of relationship really, although Juno is traditionally associated with marriage, and can be even more so in the sign of Scorpio. I'm actually going to be correlating this to the wider collective, because that's what this is. This is a collective reading. Okay, so when Juno is in Scorpio, the issue is always, what is the bottom line? What is the ulterior motives existing in relationships? And it always brings to question, is there emotional abuse? and everything is relational, and it always ripples out. So if there's emotional abuse in our interpersonal relationships, that is going to be reflected and reverberated out into the systems and structures of our society. Everything is fractal, right? This is another thing that we understand when we study evolutionary astrology, is the fractal and the cyclical nature of everything. And what I want to say about this moon is that what we are seeing happening out there in the world, that we can draw a line all the way down into the micro reality that the majority of people are facing, and we are fish in water to it, is this element of emotional abuse. Emotional abuse is the most dismissed type of abuse, because it is so invisible and so normalized. And this is where there is power and control, ulterior motivations that are running the relationship. And right now, at this time of this full moon, can be an opportunity for some of this to be exposed and illuminated. And why? Well, for us to face the reality that we actually need to effectively process how we as a human species got here. How did we get here to this point that we were at right now? Because I am very concerned. I am very concerned about where we are at right now. And I understand, thanks to evolutionary astrology, how we are where we are at right now, and I'm very passionate about other people coming and joining in that level of understanding so that we can rise to the occasion of this collective fallout. It is being fueled by unresolved power trips throughout history. Okay, so if you think about the human history, and now I'm speaking to Saturn being in the final degrees of Pisces, with that north node of the moon. How did we get here? Well, colonization, patriarchy, slavery, genocide, white supremacy, etc., all carries a resounding amount of unresolved aspects, whether that be in the form of political reform after tragedy happened, didn't go comprehensive enough, which really does actually come down to like who was in power at that time. You know, the tragedies that we can put under these massive umbrellas such as genocide or patriarchy, the individual emotional abuses and other types of abuses that go on underneath these massive umbrellas is like unfathomable for the human species. And so when we look to who is leading, who is in leadership positions, who is responding and doing the cleanup work after these tragedies and resetting and restructuring things after these tragedies, are they the people who were the perpetrators, or are they the people who were directly impacted and therefore are going to create more systems and structures that actually uphold leadership to accountability for their actions? If we look to our leaders, they are lemming leaders, right? And they're leading the majority of the populace off of the cliff, because the majority of the populace, it's just how it is, doesn't have the capacity to critically reflect, to question things, right? And so it's a following with this blindness, and I'm gonna get into what that is all about in a little bit. So Saturn is clearly symbolizing the reality of the hive mind consciousness, where we as a species seem to be so comfortable with this. And I'm speaking to this because Pluto is the bottom line of everything. Pluto is the base of how we read an entire chart. Just like how you see all of those roots being exposed, that's Pluto. Pluto is the root. So Pluto in Aquarius, freshly retrograde as of yesterday. If you have even one eye open to reality, we obviously are heading into a very terrifying future. And what the human species is exemplifying is that we would sooner regress into our well-worn, familiar roles of being used and abused rather than answering the wake-up call that is being presented to us now. And this is not an effort to victim blame. This is a message coming from compassion. I understand the dynamics of all of this. I'm just simply pointing out where we are at. And it really does come down to the fact that the human species is so used to power over dynamics, so used to being abused in a plethora of different ways, that it is our comfort zone. It is normalized. We don't question it. And so admitting that we might not know what to do is a great place to start. Reflecting and reliving where we left off and what remains unresolved is a great place to start. And that's what we're being forced to do right now. It is not an easy task for people who have one eye open and who are paying attention to what is going on. And I'm going to go into Jupiter square the moon's nodes. Okay, so Jupiter in Gemini. Let's break this down. Jupiter is how we interpret. Gemini is phenomena. So Jupiter in Gemini is the symbol, the axis in the zodiac that represents how we interpret phenomena. And with this, when a planet is square the lunar nodes, it is a symbol that is often reflecting that there is trauma that needs resolution. And in order for this to be resolved, it is to be integrated through the north node of the moon, which is in Pisces, where Saturn and Ceres are at the time of this full moon. And so obviously, this has to do with cult dynamics and how that infiltrates into our society, into the politics, into the structures of our society. So let's talk about it. How does cult dynamics work? How do they work? How do they function? Because again, we're seeing it happening on this mass scale for the collective right now, and it shows up in all of those same patterns and all of those same tactics in smaller groups, in even coupled one-on-one relationships. And so cult dynamics, the basis of it is a distortion of reality through lies, misinformation, twisting the truth in a highly manipulative way in order to keep the masses hooked, obedient, and scared so that we won't choose something different, right? So it is a creating this distorted reality and then creating so much emotional abuse and manipulation to reinforce that this is reality, period. This isn't distorted. This is life. You're free. You can do what you want. 1 minute, and then the next it's, oh, you better not question me, you better not speak out against me, all of that stuff, right? So depending on how the person in the power and control position is feeling and how they need to change their role of being the goody-goody trying to get you back on their side and being the one who enforces fear in order to get you to stay trapped. That's how this works. And so seeing this happen on such a mass scale right now is really like, please, can you not see this? Can you not see this happening out there in the world, in our political governance? And that's how fear is such an effective tactic, right? Fear will keep people from critically thinking, from questioning, is this the only reality? Is this information true? That sounds a bit intense. What is your motive for that, right? Like, we in our culture, we just take everything so surface level that the majority of people are it's not even on the radar to question what the underlying motives might be of somebody in a position of power. And so, yeah, humanity is really at a breaking point with this lesson around how we are interpreting what is going on. And getting swept into the dissolution of everything, of the power and the governance that has led us up to this point. The positive thing that is coming out of this is that all of the holes in our systems are being exposed. All of the vulnerable points in our societal systems and in our political structures are being exposed right now, because we're seeing what people in positions in power are allowed to get away with without being held accountable. So that's the good thing. We're getting a full view of that. And what we can do with that is we can be taking notes and hopefully gearing up to be in positions of leadership where we can affect change in that realm eventually. And it's something that we work towards, right? It's not something that happens overnight. And another issue that I see with what humanity is facing right now, along these lines of the cult dynamics and this hive mind thinking of scarcity in order to control people, is with Mars in Leo. It's just past its last opposition to Pluto and is now a sexy quadrate to the North Node at the time of this moon, which I think is pointing to this, and again, another underlying societal current, right, that happens micro in our families and macro in our political systems, which is this insecurity when we don't actually digest the horrific traumas that happened, when we choose to deny their existence and we don't emotionally digest them. It creates a massive insecurity within a soul, and this creates an over-identification with this made-up, diluted reality that the soul is this amazing, special person that, can't do anything wrong, and they will never admit that they will do anything wrong or that they have done anything wrong, because doing so would shatter the delusion. The delusion is inaccurate, yet it is so real to this person that they will do everything possible to not have it shattered. And so, yeah. Cult dynamics will always want to squash individuality and authenticity. It will always be a indoctrination of, you listen to my words and you regurgitate them. Don't have your own ideas. Don't question things. And so this yod is really pointing out to the fact that this is obviously in our faces right now. And what is the human species going to do with this? There is a lot of people noticing this, right? And my intention of talking about it is to encourage people, if you're noticing this, amazing. Continue to talk about it with people so that this conversation that is shining a light of awareness on what is going on becomes more normalized, as opposed to this, as opposed to normalizing that this is okay, because it isn't. So there can be, with this moon, there can be a lot of Uranian creative tension, right, where we want to expand our possibilities and create something new to contribute to society. And this can be a time where we can be finding what can we do as individuals, right, to contribute to the change. And I am just looking to see if there's anything else. Yeah, just want to say that Uranus, the ruler of Pluto, is also opposing Juno, and this is the middle opposition of Juno's retrograde. And so this is very much bringing up this element of economic shaking happening and humanity needing to question what are the underlying motives. And it is a massive shakeup that I've said before is not for the best interest of the majority. And Mercury is going to be entering Taurus later on this week. Mercury is exactly square Pluto at the time of this moon. Pluto is ruling this moon, so it's very much going to be a moon where we are really challenged to take action about the information that we are interpreting, and really wanting to filter it through our individual lens and understanding of right and wrong. That there is people here who are in service to humanity, and there are people here who are in service of only themselves. And so whenever we are listening and taking in information, we want to be very cognizant of those underlying motives and filtering what that information is through our own inner compass of right and wrong, through our own value system of right and wrong. The more people turning on their brains and doing this, the better. Yeah. that is all that I have to say. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to meeting with you along the way. If you don't join the Astro study group right now, that's fine. There's going to be many more to come in the future. And so take care.